Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to go about the cutting of this beautiful dress. So if this sounds like something you're interested to learn, keep on watching and let's get started. So guys, to start off with this tutorial, you need to make a straight line across here to serve as your starting line like I always do. The next thing you want to do is to place your tape from that line. You're going to now come down by your chest line. So I'm making this for my client. Her chest line is 7.5. I marked it. Then I also came down by her under bust of 12 inch. I came down by 16 inch for her waistline. From that 16 inch, I came down by 8 inch. This is for the hip line. So I will use my ruler now to make a straight line across like this, okay? So after marking my straight line, I'm going to label the first line as the chest line, second line the under bust, the third line the waistline, the last line is the hip line. Okay, so once I'm through with this, I am going to place my tape from that starting line, which will also serve as the shoulder line. Then I'll come down by 28 inch. After making my point there, I use a straight ruler to just draw a straight line. Then I labeled as full length from the shoulder to where the ruffle will start. Okay, I will also fold in about 1 inch for zip allowance because I want to use this pattern paper to cut both the front neckline and back neckline. So after folding, I just draw a straight line here. This will serve as the zip allowance. As you can see, I mark this line so it's very visible. So after marking, I fold it in again. Now I'm going to take half of the shoulder circumference on this side plus half an inch stitching allowance. I'll repeat the same thing on the chest line. So I'll use the stretch ruler now to connect the 2 points I have there, and I'll label as shoulder line. Okay, so I'm going to mark 3 inch for the neck width, and I'll come down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. Okay, so after that, I'll use a stretch ruler like this to connect the shoulder slope to the neck width. Once I'm through with that, I'm also going to place the tape. I'll measure what I have there to this chest line. I'll measure, then divide by 2, mark the midpoint. Also came inside from that same point by half an inch. So on the chest line, I'll mark quarter of the bust circumference, then use my curve rule to make the curve for the armhole. Okay, after connecting, next thing I want to do is to take the dart. So on the waistline, I will come inside by half of her nipple to nipple, which is 3.5. I'll mark it on the hip line, mark it on the chest line, I'll mark it at the under bust. So after that, I'll use my ruler to make a straight line just like this. Okay, so after drawing this straight line on that same waistline, I'm going to come inside by half an inch on both sides. This is for the dart intake. So from there, I'll connect to the chest line, do the same thing on the other side, also repeat the same thing on the hip line. Okay, once you're through with that, next you want to do is to include your body measurement. So on the chest line, I'll mark quarter of her bust circumference plus 2 inch for seam allowance. On the waistline, I'll mark quarter of her waist circumference plus 2 inch for seam allowance. Then replace the dart of 1 inch. Okay, so on the hip line, I'll mark quarter of her hip circumference. I'll mark it, then add 2 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so what I have there in total on the hip line is what I'm going to include on the full length line like this. So once I'm through with that, I'll use this ruler now to connect the dots I have. So after connecting the shape, the next thing you want to do is to come down by 3.5 inch. This is for the front neck depth. Okay, so I'll use my curve rule to connect the point just like this to give me a round neckline. So after connecting, the next thing you want to do now is to determine how deep you want your sweetheart neckline to be. So from the shoulder, I came down by 8 inch. You can decide to maintain the chest line, or you can decide to come up by 1.5 inch from the chest line. Okay, so that means I added extra half an inch below the chest line. Okay, so from that neck point, I'm going to mark 2 inch, like I came down by 2 inch. So now I will bring my curve rule. Okay, I'm going to now place it this way, then go ahead and connect the sweetheart neckline. So if this deepness is too much for you, there's no need do the same thing I just did here. You can decide to come up by your own new chest line like we always do on the channel. Okay, so you can come up by maybe 1.5 inch from the chest line, then you label as your new chest line, then create your curve. Once I'm done with the creating of the sweetheart neckline, the next thing I want to do is to create a curve on the side. So you can see I came up by 3 inch. You can decide to come up by 4 inch if you want. So from there, I use a stretch ruler at first to make I just made a curve this way. So I decided to, use my free hand to finish it up. So this curve is not really that visible. So if you want to make any curve of your choice. You can decide to do that, make any curve of your choice, anyhow you want to do it. Okay, so you're going to now come down by your 2 inch. This is for the neck depth of your back piece. Okay, so this is the neck depth of the back piece and this is the front neckline. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so remember that this curve is not really that visible. Okay, so you can make any curve of your choice. You can make a v-shaped curve, you can make a bold, make any curve of your choice. So on this waistline, I am going to come inside on the zip allowance. I'll come inside by half an inch, then I'll go ahead and connect this way. So this is to avoid any form of zipper board after making the dress. So by doing so, you have already removed the zipper board in fact. Okay, so after that, go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting, guys, this was what I had. Can you see? So the next thing I want to do now is to transfer this to the actual fabric. Okay, so this is the fabric I'm going to be working with. What I have here is vintage material of 3 yards. Okay, so I'll just open it up so you can see how the vintage looks like. So I have this pattern here, and on the center side I have plain black there. So I'm going to use these two combinations for the making of this dress. For the pattern, one will be used for the making of the sleeve, while the other one will serve as the ruffle part. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to fold it into four. I've gone ahead to fold it into four. So I've brought my pattern. Can you see? I'm going to now place my tape from the shoulder. I'll measure what I have there to where I curved. Okay, what I had there was about 25 inch. So what I'm going to do is to subtract the 25 inch. Okay, you will subtract the 25 inch, then determine the length you want for this gown or for the ruffle. You can decide to just leave it at 36 or 37. It depends on how short you want the dress to be. So for my client, she wants it at 42 inch, and I added extra 1 inch to make it 43 for the allowance. So I rule out a straight line this way. I'll use my scissors now to cut it out. Okay, so after cutting, I will remove it, then I'll cut the back piece. Okay, fold it into two this way, then place your pattern. First I'll cut the back piece. Okay, after cutting the back piece, I'm going to cut the sweetheart neckline we have on the pattern there, then go ahead and cut it on the actual fabric. So this allowance I'm adding here is not really necessary because the fabric is kind of stretchy. Okay, it's not really necessary. You can decide to cut the exact thing you have on the pattern. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and cut it out. You can see I didn't pin it, so that's why I used one of my hands to just use as a wedge. So go ahead and cut it out. Okay, after cutting, this was what I had. So now you're going to trim out the zip allowance side, subtract that zipper board, just go ahead and remove it. Okay, after cutting, I'll keep this aside and I'll work on the front piece. So folding back the zip allowance, then cut your sweetheart neckline like this. Okay, so I want to have a cut together yoke. Okay, I want to have a cut together yoke, so I will leave it like this. If you don't want to have a cut together yoke, you can decide to cut the yoke separately from the chest line. Okay, just like that, you cut it straight this way. When you cut it out this way, you will have a separate yoke. So this is my front piece. I've gone ahead to cut it out. So I'll just first cut from the neckline, and you can see I traced the sweetheart neckline. I traced it here on the main fabric, so I went ahead to cut it out. Like I said, you can have a separate yoke if you want. So right now I want to cut out the facing. Okay, I want to cut out the facing for the front. So go ahead and look at, just watch what I'm doing here. Watch how I'm cutting this out. Okay, just like this. So guys, after cutting, this is what I have. Can you see? This is how it looks like. So when you place it this way, the next thing you want to do now is to go ahead and sew. Okay, so guys, we're going to stop here. The video is already long. In my next tutorial, I am going to share with you guys on how to join all the pieces together, how to sew and finish everything. Okay, so guys, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Also turn on notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload the sewing part of this dress. Okay, so you can see I already finished it here, so I'm going to upload the second part of this tutorial. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.